Hi, I'm Chris Cavaliers from Octopi Media. Today we're going to be doing some test footage, slow motion test footage with their brand new camera. We got a nice FS5 Mark II here. You could check out our previous video that we did in the description below. That was all shot on Canon today at 240 frames per second, but today we're going to be doing a bit more of an extensive test in slow motion. We're going to be comparing 240 with 480 and even 960 frames per second to see which one looks best. Now we started off at 240 frames per second and the image looks quite sharp. Next we compared it at 480 and we noticed a slight loss in sharpness, but overall the image looked quite good and quite similar. At 960 frames per second we noticed quite a bit of noise and a lot of loss in sharpness. So 960 still looks kind of cool because of how slow it is, but the image is not that usable. Next, we tested pouring color at 240 frames per second, and at this speed you could see some of the particles bouncing off the plate, but it's kind of hard to see the particles falling in detail because it's not going slow enough. At 480 you could see the particles falling a lot clearer as it's going a bit slower, and the detail is still there, not much is lost. Now when we compare it to 960 frames per second, we notice a lot more noise appear. Even though it's going slower, it's actually a lot harder to see the detail as it's all kind of just got jumbled up with a bunch of noise. For our third test, we poured some pop into a mason jar. So here it is at real time, just for comparison. And first we poured it at 240 frames per second. You could see the detail on the labeling of the pop can, and you could see the detail on the liquid pouring out of the can into the mason jar. At 480 frames per second, it's pouring a lot slower, and you can see a lot more of the detail of the pop hitting the ice cubes and bouncing around and all the fizz. Overall, the image is pretty sharp. It's a little bit of a loss in sharpness if you look at the label of the can, but still quite acceptable and definitely usable if you want a little bit of a slower look and get that detail in the slow motion. Now again, at 960 frames per second, you notice a lot more noise. You do notice the pop pouring out a lot slower and bouncing around, but a lot of the detail is lost and the image does not nearly look as clean, and I would not say this is a usable image for any production. Next, we lit a candle again at 240, and then we also tested at 480 frames per second. You could really see the flicker and the slow motion, pretty nice. The rest of the video is just a compilation of different shots at 240, 480, and 960, and you guys could compare to see which ones you think are best. In conclusion, out of the three speeds, I'd definitely say that 960 is pretty much unusable for most uses. It's kind of useful if you want some really slow motion shots and just to see what's going on, but it's definitely not something that I'd want to use for an actual video to be showing off the aesthetics. Now, out of 240 and 480, I'd say it really depends on the situation. I really like this slow motion of the 480. I think it looks really nice having it really slow. But if you want a little bit more detail, definitely go with the 240. Thank you for watching. You can check out our other tests that we've done with the FS5 Mark II in the description below. We did a skin tone and color test as well as a slow motion test on Canada Day. Thanks for watching and see you next time.